It's not me who got you pregnant. I never want to see you at my house again. It's not me who got you pregnant. I never want to see you at my house again.
Brianna is very happy, getting her outfit ready for tomorrow's service, as usual. Because for nothing in the world, she could not go to church on Sunday. Even during the week, she attends all the services. Especially the choir rehearsals, because Brianna is one of the best choristers in the revival church called the First to Enter Heaven, in which her mother Sandrine has been bringing her since she was still a baby. So Brianna grew up praying in the church, the First to Enter Heaven. She spent more time there than anywhere else. That Sunday, after the service, Pastor Joseph approached Brianna with a smile and said to her, "My daughter, you have really grown up. You are a real woman now. Time flies so quickly. You were only 1 year old the first time your mother brought you here. I really need to talk to you in private. Because God has awakened to me many wonderful things that are happening in your life. But to receive these blessings, you must be very well spiritually supervised. I know that you and your mother have my private number. Call me later, we'll talk about it again. But you're already a grown-up woman, you're 18 now. Aren't you, Brianna?" Brianna replied, "Yes, Pastor Joseph. I'm 18. The pastor replied, "So you shouldn't tell mother everything anymore. Because your blessing is personal. Like your salvation." "Okay." "Yes, Pastor Joseph," smiling. That evening, at 6:30 p.m., Brianna called Pastor Joseph, as he requested. Pastor Joseph told Brianna that he wanted to see her in a discreet place. To speak with her very personally. "I'll send you the money by mobile money, right away. For your transportation," Pastor Joseph added. The next day, after university, Brianna honored the appointment given by her pastor. She joined Pastor Joseph at a luxurious, discreet restaurant several kilometers from Lagos, as the pastor had planned. Pastor Joseph started the conversation, saying, "Brianna, you are truly a beautiful woman. God has given you everything a man desires. I really like you, and I have for years. But I was waiting until you were an adult to talk to you about it. You have a great destiny. But you need to be mentored by a powerful man of God like me to enter into your glorious destiny. I would like to have an intimate relationship with you. My beautiful Brianna." Brianna was shocked. Because it was the last thing she expected from her pastor. Pastor Joseph reassured her, saying, "Don't worry, baby. Everything is going to be fine. You'll never want for anything again. I'm going to take good care of you. I'm even going to get you to change universities. And pay for your studies at a private university, if you're nice to me." Brianna finally understood that Pastor Joseph really wanted to change his life. So she considered that it was God who sent the pastor into her life to take her out of poverty. Because indeed, Brianna and her mother Sandrine were really going through difficult times. Brianna's father had abandoned them when Brianna was 2 years old. Sandrine always managed to take care of her daughter alone, thanks to her fish business that she sold with her daughter in their precarious neighborhood. They often slept without eating because it was very difficult for her to make ends meet. And obviously, Brianna spent several days without going to university because she didn't have the money to pay for the taxi. So Brianna took this proposal from Pastor Joseph as a divine blessing. She agreed to get into a relationship with Pastor Joseph. A few weeks later, after giving him several gifts, Pastor Joseph was the first man to enter Brianna's secret garden. Brianna was quite sad because she had never imagined that her first time would be with a man who could be her father. And especially in a relationship in which she felt no romantic feelings. But Brianna consoled herself by repeating to herself that she was doing it to improve the living conditions of her mother and herself. She consoled herself especially with the many gifts and money that Pastor Joseph gave her. Brianna now had enough money. Food was no longer a problem for her mother and her. With the large sum of money that the pastor gave her, Brianna rented a magnificent apartment in one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Lagos, paying 2 years of rent to the owner. Pastor Joseph kept his promise by taking Brianna out of the public university where she was studying. He even did better and sent Brianna to study in Japan, in one of the best private universities in Tokyo. Pastor Joseph paid a year's rent for a beautiful furnished apartment in one of Tokyo's most beautiful and best neighborhoods for his sweetheart Brianna's first year of college. Brianna was treated like a true princess by her beloved Pastor Joseph. Since Pastor Joseph was very rich, he was a multimillionaire in dollars. His church, the first to enter heaven, was in the top 3 of the most attended churches in Nigeria, because Pastor Joseph performed incredible miracles. He made the disabled walk. He made the mute speak. He gave sight to the blind. And of course, he made barren women give birth. Once a week, Pastor Joseph went to Japan by private jet to spend quality time with his sweetheart Brianna. He adored her warmth and could no longer do without her. Brianna also began to have romantic feelings for Pastor Joseph because he was very sweet and kind to her. Above all, she was very faithful to him, and at no time did she think of cheating on him. Despite the fact that handsome young men from the university were interested in her. Everything was going well for Brianna. She was truly living a waking dream. Her studies were going wonderfully, and she lacked nothing. But 9 months later, Brianna got sick. She hadn't stopped vomiting for the past 3 days. When she went to the clinic for a consultation, a doctor told her the good news. "Congratulations, madam. You're 3 months pregnant. You're expecting a beautiful little boy who is very healthy." Brianna was both surprised and happy to know that she was expecting a child. But she was dreading her mother's reaction. Because with the arrival of the baby, she was really going to force Brianna to introduce her to the mysterious man she was dating. Because, in fact, all this time, Brianna had been hiding from her mother that she was in a relationship with Pastor Joseph. Because he had demanded that she not tell anyone about their relationship. So Brianna just made her mother believe that she was dating a young wealthy entrepreneur who was very busy and traveled a lot. When Brianna told Pastor Joseph that she was pregnant, she almost fainted, listening to his reaction. Pastor Joseph yelled at Brianna saying, "What? Are you pregnant? From whom? But of you, darling." Brianna immediately responded, shocked. "Who are you calling, darling?" "Brianna, stop your show. You can't attribute a pregnancy to me that isn't mine. Never in my life." Brianna couldn't breathe properly, she was so shocked. "But what are you talking about, darling? I'm pregnant with you. You are the first and only man I've ever dated in my life. I know you've been dating young men from college, and even men from your neighborhood. You're an unfaithful woman. Don't ever call me again. And forget about me. Look for the father of your child in Japan." Then Pastor Joseph hung up on Brianna. Brianna started crying her eyes out. She felt like she was living a nightmare. Pastor Joseph's reaction was unrealistic for her, because he had always been gentle and caring towards her. Treating her like that, when she told him about the arrival of their children, was truly hell for Brianna, who was completely lost. And that was just the beginning of Brianna's ordeal. As the weeks went by, Pastor Joseph stopped answering her calls. Brianna was now 6 months pregnant. She absolutely had to pay the sum of $9,000. to renew the annual lease on the apartment she was renting in Japan. But she didn't have enough money, and Pastor Joseph wasn't sending her anything anymore. He even sent her a WhatsApp message, saying, "I'm not going to pay for your studies anymore, let alone your rent. Good luck with the father of your child." Brianna, completely lost, and afraid of ending up living on the streets in Japan, decided to return to Nigeria. At least she would have a roof over her head and would be able to better confront Pastor Joseph once she arrived in Lagos. Arriving in Lagos, completely exhausted, and 9 months pregnant, Brianna immediately went to Pastor Joseph's house. But he was very angry to see Brianna in his luxurious villa. He shouted at her, "What are you looking for here? You have the nerve to set foot in my house. Despite the fact that I told you that I never want to hear from you again. You're just a little social climber who wanted to take advantage of my money to enrich herself. But I'm not an idiot. I won't let any woman swindle me. Even less to attribute to me a child who is not mine. Get out of here. And never set foot in my house again, otherwise you'll have to deal with me." Pastor Joseph left Brianna outside, getting wet in the heavy rain, with terrifying lightning and thunder. Brianna stood in the rain for over 40 minutes, crying, alone, lost and completely desperate. She was so desperate that she thought the worst, ending her life, as well as the babies. Because Brianna no longer saw any future, she resolved to go to the apartment where she had left her mother. Her mother, Sandrine, was completely horrified and shocked to see her daughter in this state. "My God, what happened to you, Brianna?" she cried. Brianna explained everything to her mother. From the beginning, she claimed that she was pregnant by Pastor Joseph, and that he didn't want to acknowledge the child, let alone take care of her, and the commitments he had made. Sandrine, very sad and shocked, exclaimed, "My God, so this Pastor Joseph is even the devil himself. I'm going to give him my life if he doesn't take responsibility." Brianna became seriously ill during the night, particularly because she had wet herself in the rain, that she was no longer eating properly, and especially because of the hell that Pastor Joseph was making her live. When she arrived at the hospital, the doctor told them that Brianna had no baby in her belly, and that her belly was just big for nothing. Brianna was completely shocked. She told the doctors that she had had 3 ultrasounds in Japan. And barely a week ago, the Japanese doctors confirmed that she was full-term and would soon give birth. But the doctor insisted, saying that the doctors in Japan were wrong, because there is no baby in her womb, but just a lot of water. Brianna and her mother were completely traumatized and scandalized. Angry, Sandrine immediately took her daughter to church, the first to enter heaven. In the middle of the service, Sandrine started screaming, "Stop everything. This pastor is the incarnation of the devil. He destroyed my daughter's life. He impregnated my daughter and refuses to take care of her and the child. The worst part is that the child has completely disappeared from my daughter's womb. She is 9 months pregnant, but the doctors say there is only water in her womb. Pastor Joseph, you are an imposter and a real sorcerer." Pastor Joseph replied, "They are completely possessed. This mother and her daughter, they were sent by the devil to destabilize me and destabilize my assembly. But you are defeated. In the mighty name of Jesus. Fire on you. Fire. Fire. Fire." Then he said to the men of security, "Grab them. I'm going to make the evil spirits that possess them come out. Don't touch us. You're just idiots." Sandrine exclaimed, then she left the church with Brianna, saying, "Joseph, you're going to hear about us. Imposter." Completely devastated, Brianna, looking for a solution to her problem, spent hours on social media. Then she came across a video of Pastor Joseph putting a child in the womb of a woman who had been unable to give birth. knowing that almost every night, for the past few weeks, she had nightmares, in which Pastor Joseph removed the child from her womb, in a cemetery, late at night. Brianna and her mother ended up being convinced that Pastor Joseph had mystically taken Brianna's baby and put it in the womb of one of his followers during his many miracle sessions. 2 years later, Brianna was still pregnant. Exhausted and desperate, she and her mother were evicted from the luxurious apartment she had rented because they no longer had the money to pay such expensive rent. More than $10,000 for 12 months of rent. It was impossible for her to have that amount of money. So, with the little savings her mother had, they moved back into a cheap house in the precarious neighborhood where they lived before. Completely exhausted, dejected, and desperate, Brianna decided to increase her live broadcast on social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, to inform the whole world of the hell Pastor Joseph has been putting her through for the past 2 years. She claimed that Pastor Joseph is a witch doctor who works with black magic to bewitch his followers, and especially to make prophecies and miracles. The whole country was shocked when they heard this story. Several people shared his videos around the world, and this motivated other victims of Pastor Joseph to denounce him. Several complaints of abuse of all kinds have been filed against Pastor Joseph, with irrefutable evidence to support them, particularly from former members of his church. In view of these numerous complaints, and the media scandal about his church, the first entered paradis, Pastor Joseph was arrested and sentenced to 4 years in prison, and his church was closed. But thanks to his money and his connections, people were shocked to learn that he was released just after spending 6 months in prison. Brianna never gave any news of her again. No one knows if she ended up giving birth, or if she simply received a large sum of money from Pastor Joseph to pay for her silence. And according to you, why did Brianna stop giving news of her critical case? Tell us in the comments, subscribe to not miss any of our next videos.